Okay, are we ready? Is he ready? Yes. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's Board of Appeals hearing. Before we begin, let me introduce some members of town government that act as advisors to this board. To my left is Paul Hennings, counsel to the board. To his left is Blaise Donadio, a planner in the planning department. Now let me tell you why you're here tonight. New York State statute requires that any town that adopts zoning must also have a Board of Appeals to act as a relief valve so that those persons aggrieved by strict application of the zoning ordinance can seek relief without the expense of going to court. Town board can give boards of appeals additional powers such as special exception approvals, site plan approvals. In Smithtown, the town board has given this board authority regarding certificate of existing use and some special exception uses. The most common kind of application before the board are area variances. Area variance deal with dimensions of lot area, frontage, height, setbacks, and parking spaces. New York State statutes mandates that the board must consider the following 5 criteria in area variances. When you come to the podium to present your application, you need to address these 5 variants. They're posted here for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created. Number 2, whether the applicant has other feasible alternatives. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether an adverse impact on the environment will be created. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. The statute requires the board to balance the interest of the applicant and those of the neighborhood or community. This statute further requires that the board shall grant the minimum variance necessary and adequate, and at the same time preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community. The board has the power to impose reasonable conditions. Regarding procedures, cases will be called in order that they are advertised. When your case is called, please come forward, submit your affidavits and mailing receipts to Mr. Donadio, and then you will be sworn in at the podium and given the opportunity to explain to the board why you need the variance. After the applicant is done speaking, all interested parties will be given one opportunity and only one opportunity to be heard. Please organize your thoughts, keep your remarks factual that are related to the case. Then I will ask the applicant to come back to the podium to answer your concerns. The board will then close the case and reserve decision. After all the hearings are closed, the board will review the cases and decide some of them. Others will be reviewed at a later date. There are 3 ways to find out the results of the case. You can wait until after the public hearing, but there's no guarantee that the board will act on your case tonight. Number 2, you can call the planning department tomorrow afternoon. And 3, applicants can wait and be notified by mail. After a hearing is closed, no additional information or testimony can be submitted by the applicant or any interested parties. We do have an adjournment tonight. Okay, it's case 1-17363. It's North Shore Fuel Oil, Inc. Has been adjourned to August 11th. Okay.
Madam Chair, the first case on the agenda, number 17369, Jacomar Partners, LLC, 50 Carl Avenue, Smithtown. The location of the property, the southwest corner of Carl Avenue and Redwood Lane. The property is zoned OB and CB. The applicant is requesting a variance to increase the maximum wall sign height from 15 to 26 feet for 3 signs. Increase the number of wall signs from 1 to 5, 4 existing. Permit 2 wall signs not to face a public street.
Good evening. My name is Mark Agrari. I have Carmine Grasso.
Just a second, please. Let me have your name and address, please.
Mark Agrari, 50 Carl Avenue.
Spell your last name.
E-G-H-R-A-R-I.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Yes, and I'd like to add some comments after.
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Carmine Grasso of Cataldo Grasso Architects, 14 Carl Avenue, Smithtown, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
I represent Jackamar Properties in their application for sign variances. There's a few variances that we're looking for. One's for the height of the signs. There's a variance for the number of signs. They're all wall signs, of course. And one is for 2 signs not facing a public street. The height of the signs, it's in line with the signs that were previously approved on the building. The height's 26 feet, and that fits in with the architecture of the building and makes it, it's at the best space to make it visible to people as they come up to the site. The signs, like I said, are placed for the best visibility from the roads. The signs are located such that traffic from all directions will be able to identify the building prior to coming up to and passing the entrances to the building. The existing signs that are there are not visible until you're right on top of the building. They are facing the road, but the way the roads are, roads both from both sides, both Carl Avenue and Redwood Lane, come up to the building on a curve. So when you're coming up, you're not seeing the side of the building where the sign is. You're seeing the sides that actually face the parking lots. On the north side of the building, which is Redwood Lane, there's a sign right now that says 50 Carl Avenue that was approved many years ago. With all the street trees now being mature and in bloom, you can't really see the sign. You can see it in the wintertime when the leaves are down, but right now you don't see it. That's part of the reason why we're proposing a sign on the south side of the building, because when you travel up north on Carl Avenue, you're not going to see the sign facing Carl Avenue until you're past the entrance to the building. A lot of people that come to the building can't see the sign, and when they go past the entrance, they're not sure that there's an entrance on the other side of the building on Redwood Lane, so they wind up circling the block until they can get to the entrance on Carl. When you use a GPS to access information on how to get to the site, and if you're traveling on Main Street, it's going to take you down Carl Avenue. So we feel that that's critical for us to have a sign facing Carl Avenue, which is the south side of the building, which technically faces the parking lot, but is the sign that you would see on Carl Avenue due to the curve of Carl Avenue as you come up to the site. We also feel that the signs are very attractive, and I think it's a nice looking sign on the building, and I think it helps give a good image to the building. We've also submitted petitions from over 50 people that have said that they're in favor of the application, and they would actually prefer to have that additional sign on the Carl Avenue, or the south side of the building facing Carl. As far as the area variance considerations go, whether there be an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties, we don't feel that would be the case. We feel that the signs would help the nearby properties because it's going to improve the traffic flow in the area, and you won't have cars circling the street or possibly pulling into other properties thinking that that's the place they're supposed to be. Whether the benefit could be sought by, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by another method, again, we don't feel that this is the case because the signs are needed to provide visibility for any visitors coming to the site. Whether the variance is substantial, when in first blush when you look at it, the number of signs may seem substantial because right now you can only have one wall sign. Back when the building was built, you were allowed to have 2. We're requesting to have 5. The number seems substantial, but when you look at the proportions of the signs in relation to the building, it's not like you're going to be seeing all sign. It's really the signs are in a nice proportion to the building and are attractive looking. Whether the variance will have an adverse effect or impact the environmental conditions, again, we feel that that's not the case. The signs, obviously the 2 signs that were approved many years ago have been existing for many years. The 2 signs that were installed prior to getting a permit have been there for quite a while, and they have been no problem at all with the environment. I think it's helped having people being able to clearly see and identify the building, especially, like I said, coming up on Redwood Lane. the sign that does not face the street, the one that's not on Redwood Lane, it doesn't face the street, it faces the parking lot. When you come up Redwood on that curve as well, that's the first thing you see for the building, and it's right before the entrance on Redwood. So you see that sign and you're able to go into the building knowing where it is. And whether the difficulty was self-created, I don't know if it's self-created. What happens is the positioning of the building creates the conditions that necessitate us to put the signs where we're looking to put them. So I'd like Mark to come back up here, and maybe he has a few other comments that he'd like to address with
Sure.
you.
Right ahead.
I'm asking for this variance. I see that Carmine was able to get a memorandum from the town planning department.
Mm-hmm.
The need for the sign is, I'm an estate planning attorney, and the nature of my business is that we see clients and then their family returns often many years later at the time of someone's death. And so it's not unusual. People are coming to our office at a difficult time during their life, and being the first time that they are coming to our office. The clients and often their children are older, and they become frustrated when they can't find our location. I see a request to plant some trees as a condition, and the request for the tree planting is on the Redwood Lane side. And I'm not sure if that was in error, because there's quite a number of trees on the Redwood side. On the Carl Avenue side, during Hurricane Sandy, we did lose, I believe, 2 trees. And as this is the first time I found out about this request for the planting of trees, I did not take a good look to see whether 3 trees is needed or not. I'm proud of the way we keep the site, and I don't have any objection to adding a tree if that's what's needed to get the approval on these signs. I'd like to continue to do some work there at the property. That's not a problem. So I asked Marie Goldstein to come also. She's a tenant down on the first floor, and I didn't want to overwhelm the board with more than 50 signatures for clients and neighbors who support the application. But without exaggeration, there's another 50 that could be found. I thought you didn't want to hear from 50 people parading up here saying, I support the application, so I brought Marie because she has been a tenant in our building for 16 years, and so if it's all right with the board, if Marie could say a few words, that might help.
All right. And Marie, I'm going to ask you for your first and last name
Sure, Marie Goldstein,
and your address.
9 Tammy Court, Kings Park, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to say a few words this evening. I've been in the building for 16 years. I own a business brokerage company. Smithtown 50 Carl is our corporate office. We currently operate in 30 states, and with Carl Avenue being our corporate office, we get quite a few visitors over the last 16 years. Obviously, everybody is aware that we're all currently living in what I consider the largest recession since the Great Depression. And business is very good, but it's harder to do. People, although we live in the world of the internet, I think people like to come, see who they're dealing with, shake hands, meet people, and that's what we do in our business at our building. We have, over the last 2 years, had more clients come to actually visit us than we've ever had in the 14 years prior to that. there have been many times that our clients are lost. And there are times it's because they just maybe didn't have their GPS. And then there are times that they're circling. Whatever the reason is, when you have clients that are looking for you, you want them to find you. We love Smithtown. Most of you know me. I'm all about Smithtown. I'm all about bringing business here. I would like to stay in Smithtown. Many of you know me and know that, I've been in Mark's building, and I enjoy having my business here. But anything that can make it easier for our clients in the world we live in today to do business would be very, very much appreciated. I can tell you that the signs that are up now, that are on the building, have made it a lot easier for us when giving directions to people. And I appreciate those. I appreciate Mark for investing in the property that I do business in. And I respectfully ask this board to please consider helping our business stay a thriving business in Smithtown with signage. And again, I say that understanding and respecting the processes and the policies that are in place and need to be adhered to.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say? No. Anyone else?
Yes,
Go
the
ahead.
only, the conditions that have been requested
Right.
to remove one of the signs, which is normally not visible during the spring and summer and most of the fall because it's behind the foliage of the leaves. That one I was aware of prior to this evening, and I did contact both a mason contractor and a sign installer, and that will be very difficult because it will destroy, the masonry is now 25 years old, and pulling that sign off the building will cause damage to those bricks, and so I really don't see the need to pull off a sign that can't be seen behind the trees probably the better part of 6 months. So I'm hoping that the board will take into account that removing that sign is not going to be just a simple process. It'll require masonry repair. I'm not sure what the sensitivity is to having an additional sign, but if there's a concern about the number of signs, I have also permitted a ground sign on the property that's on the corner of Carl Avenue and Redwood Lane. That's, as I remember, approximately 4 feet high by 8 feet wide, about 32 square feet. That sign has not been helpful, and my thoughts were to, if it would help, reduce the size of that sign and just put 50 Carl Avenue on it as a marker, but it hasn't been particularly helpful. I know that for Marie and Nate Goldstein's business, it's important that the real estate business has a sign outside. It's required by law, as I understand it. So it would be 50 Carl Avenue and just the name of their business. So I hope that these are points that you'll consider. I respect the planning department's memorandum, but I want to ask that the conditions that they're imposing, 1 or 2 trees on Carl Avenue, I can see there's space for, but removing the old sign will be a real hardship and cause water damage and other sorts of problems to the building. There's probably, the mason contractor feels like there's oxidation behind the sign, so you're going to get the outline of the existing sign anyway, and it'll just be a masonry mess.
Okay.
So thank you.
Joe, just wait 1 minute because
Oh, sure.
we're going to hear from the planning department, then I will ask the gentleman if there are any questions. All right?
Absolutely.
Please. Planning?
Madam Chair, Planning did prepare a memo that the board does have a copy of. We did make a recommendation to the board based on the 5 variance considerations. Hopefully the board had an opportunity to read it, and you can use that to guide you in making a decision.
Okay. Gentlemen, are there any other questions?
No, go on. No
Gentlemen?
question.
Okay, thank you so much.
One last thought. I know someone brought to my attention that maybe the board went for a site visit.
We do. I've walked the
And-
sites,
Okay,
and I drove it.
Okay, and because 2 of the 3 signs that I'm seeking variances for are up, I just want to assure you it's not a hypothetical, the need for the sign facing the south. That is coming directly from client requests and visitors to the building. And if you know where you're going, you might recognize the side of the sign, but as you come up Carl Avenue, if you are not familiar with it, if it's truly your first visit, you will only see the side of the sign and it has no recognition value. So I know you went for a site visit and maybe the way that you were looking at it was within your mind's eye, I know what I'm looking at. But for those people that are coming to the building, it is not readily identifiable for them. And we're telling them there's a sign on the building, so they're looking for that, and when they don't see it, they are driving past it. So I
Thank
hope you'll
you.
take all that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
It's regularly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
motion carried. Yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17370, Fieldstone Development Group. The location of the property is the west side of Core Road, 120 feet south of Leaf Court in Kings Park. The property is zoned R15. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum setback from any lot line from 4 feet to 0 feet to replace an existing 4-foot retaining wall.
Members of the board, my name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavit of posting and mailing to Blaze Donadio. A little bit of history. It's just a retaining wall, but what happened is, as you know, Fieldstone Estates is building a subdivision on Core Road, and one of the lots has in front of it a very old retaining wall that happened to be in the right-of-way, not on our property. So there was talk about fixing the retaining wall and replacing it, and Glenn Jorgensen of the Highway Department says, yeah, you could put it in the same place, but we don't want to be responsible. God forbid something happens. Well, that doesn't work, because if it's in the town right away, then you're responsible, period. And the building department wasn't too happy about it either. So what we decided to do, with the approval of the highway department and the building department, is construct a new retaining wall within our property line. However, that retaining wall is almost on the property line, and the reason for that is if we step it back the way the ordinance requires, we would be taking a rather large amount of land that really is unnecessary. So because of that, and again, we volunteered to build the wall. The wall was, as I said, in the town right-of-way. You can see from the pictures it's kind of dilapidated, and it certainly needs to be taken down and rebuilt. We don't think that this will have an adverse effect on adjacent properties. As a matter of fact, it will help the roadway in the sense that once this is taken down and the wall is moved back, there'll be less of a chance. Well, the wall has to be fixed or replaced, because it's about to fall down. Don Mangona, one of the principals, indicated to me that the wall is made now with no base or footing on it, and it's just kind of leaning over. I think the picture shows it. Anyway, it will not have an effect on adjacent properties. Is the request substantial? No, not in this case, because the wall was a few feet in front of it for, who knows, maybe 50 years. The benefit can be achieved by an alternate method. Well, if we did that, and if we set it back and stepped it back, the only thing it would do would be to affect that number, lot number 1, and it would have no adverse effect on anyone else but us. So that's why we're asking for the variance. Would it have any environmental issues? No. The retaining wall will be constructed of what they call retaining wall block. It's a special rock face block that looks very attractive. Was this difficulty self-created? We didn't create it. Somebody did it many, many years ago. And now, since we're building the subdivision, we get the job of doing the retaining wall, and we're happy to do it. And we respectfully ask the board to grant us this variance. Thank you.
Planning?
No comments.
Gentlemen,
No questions.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Wrigley moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17371, Merle Levi, 22 Marquette Drive, Smithtown. The location of the property, the west side of Marquette Drive, 365 feet north of Carnegie Drive. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 to 44 feet for an existing 174 square foot deck and 155 square foot sunroom.
No. You're not the applicant.
No,
I need the applicant.
I have power of
Do
attorney.
you have power of attorney?
Yes.
Okay, let me have your name and address.
Louis Castellano, 2693 Middle Country Road, Lake Grove, New York.
Spell your last name.
Castellano, C-A-S-T-E-L-L-A-N-O.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair. We're here tonight for a variance for a rear yard sunroom and deck that was built prior by the owner. The rear yard is required is 50 feet. We have 44 feet. We don't feel that's an impact on any of the neighbors. If you drove through the development today, I'm sure you saw quite a few of these high ranches have the rear decks. It's a second-story deck. We don't believe the request is substantial because it's quite common in that area. We can't achieve it by any other method because it's already built. There's no environmental issues, and the difficulty was caused by the homeowner, and they have sold the house, and Mr. Levy has passed away, and Mrs. Levy wants to sell the house and move on.
Planning?
No comments.
Gentlemen?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Wrigley moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
You're all good? Yeah. Oh, you're the next one. Oh, thank you so much. Madam Chair, the next case, number 17372, Rhea Goldberg, 1 Cardinal Lane, Hauppauge. The location of the property, the northwest corner of Cardinal Lane and Old Willets Path. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 to 43 feet for an existing 143 square foot deck.
Okay, let me have your name and address.
Louis Castellano, 2693 Middle Country Road, Lake Grove, New York.
Okay, you have been sworn in already, so,
Yes.
go ahead.
I provided the council with power of attorney.
Thank you.
Similar situation to the last house. It's a high ranch. There was a kitchen door that was built with the house with a small deck that went out to the ground level. About 20 years ago, Mr. Goldberg rebuilt the deck and made it bigger. He encroached on the backyard by 7 feet. Instead of being 50 feet, he has 43 feet. Many homes in that area, many high ranch in that area had the same situation. There's no impact on the deck on the neighbor, because one side is Willis Path and the other side is the condos, which are far enough away. He only has one adjoining neighbor. The request is not substantial because many homes in that area have the same situation. Could it be achieved by any other method? Yes, we could take it down. There's no environmental impact, and the difficulty is that he already built it. And they've sold the house and they've left.
Planning,
No comments?
gentlemen,
No, ma'am. No question.
thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Have a good evening.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Bailey moved to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
The next case on the agenda, number 17373, Peter Rasso, 3 Pelican Road, Hauppauge. The location of the property, the east side of Pelican Road, 131 feet south of Dell Place. The property is owned R15. The applicant is requesting a variance to permit environmentally sensitive land, depth to groundwater less than 10 feet to be altered. Permit environmentally sensitive land to be used to calculate the permitted density, building coverage, floor area, or minimum lot area. Reduce the minimum buildable lot area from 10,000 square feet to 0. The actual lot area is 16,025 square feet. Reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 75 to 47 feet, 51 feet existing, for an existing roof over patio.
May I have your name, please?
Yes, Peter Rasso, R-A-S-O.
And your address, Peter.
3 Pelican Road, Hauppauge, New York, 11788.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Yes.
Thank you. You have your name and address.
Todd O'Connell, TOC Architects, doing business at 1200 Veterans Highway, Hauppauge, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Representing Peter Rasso in this case, this particular property is a undersized lot. It's in an R21 district requiring at least 20,000 square feet. The property is currently developed with a 16,000 square foot piece of property. As an undersized lot, that does make certain setbacks a little more difficult if the lot was of the proper size. But what Mr. Rasso is proposing to do is to have an open portico to the back of the house, so he could enjoy his property, stay out of some rain, and it serves a second purpose that he has a cellar entrance on that part of the house, which tends to flood with some rain, and that cellar entrance will actually help mitigate some of that flooding problems. As an open structure, we feel that it's, that we're not asking for a major request. He has no intention of enclosing it. So we do feel that it's not going to have a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood. The groundwater, we did get a request from Waterways to get a depth to groundwater or a soil boring, which we did. We've logged the water at 7.2 feet. We submitted that report to the building department. And all the work that we're doing is going to have a foundation of only about 3 feet deep. And therefore, I don't feel it's going to have any negative environmental impact because we're not going to be penetrating the groundwater. On paper, this variance can sound pretty terrible, as we're, not allowed to build anything essentially. But the house is there, so we're not creating a new variance with the new house, with the coverage that's there. The new structure that we're planning on adding is, again, it's an open structure, and it alleviates certain problems that Mr. Rasso has, as well as trying to utilize their property to its fullest potential. So again, is it substantial? Yes, it is, but with the nature of the property and what we have, we don't feel that this request is, we feel that this request is the best request to put before this board. There's really not many other options that we have. It is a proposed addition, so it's, it's not a self-created hardship, but we are posed with the conditions of the site as it is. The change to the neighborhood, the neighborhood's not going to change. You can't see what we're looking to do from the front of the house. It is an addition to the back, so we don't feel it's going to cause any undesirable change. And with that said, we respectfully ask this board for relief of these variances. Thank you.
Planning?
No comments.
Gentlemen?
No question.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moving second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17374, Angelo and Bridget Clemente, 71 Sunken Meadow Road, Fort Salonga. The location of the property, the north side of Sunken Meadow Road, 2,294 feet east of Crestwood Drive. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting a variance to add to a non-conforming structure, reduce the minimum lot frontage as setback from 150 feet to 104 feet, reduce the minimum west side yard from 24 to 12 feet, increase the maximum height from 15 feet to 22 feet, increase the permitted number of stories for an accessory structure from 1 to 2, increase the maximum square footage of an accessory structure from 750 square feet to 1,924 square feet, permit the accessory structure in the required side yard.
May I have your name, please?
My name is Angelo Clemente, C-L-E-M-E-N-T-E. My address is 71 Sunken Meadow Road in Fort Salonga.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
And would you like this gentleman to speak for
I
you?
would like the architect, Michael Guido, to speak on my behalf.
Okay. All right, Michael, you're going to have to give me your name and spell your last name.
Michael Guido, G-U-I-D-O,
And your address?
20 Polk Street, Rocky Point, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
The proposed three-car detached garage has a footprint of 962 square feet. The garage is proposed with an attic loft space for storage above two-thirds of the garage. One-third of the garage will have no floor above it, so it'll be open to the roof above. The usable floor area in the attic with a headroom of 4 feet or more is 379 square feet. From the eave, the entire area of the usable attic space would be slightly over 500 square feet, and that's from, zero. The highest part of the attic would be 8 feet. The 8-foot part of the attic is 4 feet wide, and then it'll slope down. So a lot like a cape, and we have a couple of dormers on there that extend, and the dormers actually even extend over part of the area that has no floor. So one of the bays will have no floor above it. And that was done really just for the aesthetics of making this thing, look good. So we've located the property, the garage, approximately 100 feet from the street, and it may be visible at certain times during the year in the wintertime. So they were very interested in having it look good as opposed to just being a rectangular box. The subject property has significant changes in grade through the full depth of the property. The property slopes up from the road to the house 30 feet and dropped down significantly behind the house. The location of the garage was selected to be approximately 100 feet from the street and 12 feet from the west side property line. This area was more level than the area to the east and closer to the street. The garage was designed with small dormers in the attic and the garage doors facing the home, not the street. In the winter months, it may be possible to see the garage from the street. Even the area between the garage and the street is heavily wooded. The 12-foot setback allows cars that come up the driveway to make a U-turn into the garage. Like I said, the garage doors will actually face up the hill towards the house. So in order to turn and make it into the garage, we've allowed for a 50-foot outside, wall-to-wall turning radius between the edge of the existing driveway and the first garage door bay. The proposed garage footprint is considerably smaller than the two other detached structures within a few hundred feet of the subject property. A 1,300 square foot four-car garage was constructed directly adjacent to the subject residence in 2007. That garage is 12 feet from the property and is 33 feet from the corner of my client's home. Our proposed garage will be 125 feet from the nearest adjacent house, which is that house, and 270 feet from the nearest neighbor across the street to the south. 2 houses away to the east is another large detached structure with a footprint of approximately 1,700 square feet. So I think that the precedent for the oversized detached structures is already set. As far as location and being able to locate this other places on the site, behind the house is not feasible. For one, it would be over 500 feet from the street. So it would make getting in and out of the garage in snow a disaster, as it is getting up to the house at 400 feet is not very easy. So the garage was placed towards the front of the property, so it would be a little bit easier to get cars in and out on a work day if they've got, to get the driveway clear. The area that was selected in the front yard is an area that is as level gets on this property. There's a considerable amount of slope from the street up and from the driveway up. So we located in an area where it would be reasonably flat and where we could get out of the driveway and turn into the garage without having to build significant retaining walls and things like that to do those things. So we don't feel that the variance is self-created. Had the property been, we're in a zone where the requirement is 150 feet wide. We are only 100 feet wide. So had we had the extra 50 feet of width, we wouldn't be anywhere near 12 feet from the property line. We could be 62 feet from the property line and still make the turning radius. So we don't feel we're creating that. We are not creating a front yard variance. We could be closer to the street, but they're electing not to be. The width of the street, the width at the building line of 104 feet is an existing condition, so we can't really contend with that. And like I said, we're building a garage that's, we believe, significantly smaller than the adjacent garages in the areas for the existing neighbors.
Planning?
Madam Chair, the board is aware that planning did prepare a memorandum that the board has had an opportunity to read. We recommend a denial based on the 5 variance considerations. Hopefully the board can use that to help you guide make a decision on this application.
Gentlemen, any questions?
I do.
Yes.
Do you have addresses for us of the cases that you cite as precedent?
I actually don't have the addresses. It is the house right next door. I have photographs. And house 3 houses away.
Do you know if these houses have variances?
I do not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to see the picture?
Does he want to see? You want to see the picture? You want to see the picture?
Sure.
That's the photos of the adjacent garage.
You cannot talk. You have to talk. Just give him the pictures, and then you have to go back to the.
So the photographs show the adjacent garage, the size of that garage, the style of that garage, which is a 4-car, straight, gable roof garage, and it's 12 feet from the property line and 33 feet from the corner of my client's home. And it's about 1,300 square feet. And then 2 houses away, there's a large, I haven't been in their backyard, but about a 1,700 square foot detached structure behind that house as well.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. I think maybe it's more for planning. What makes this property a non-conforming structure? Is it the
Side yard setback?
side yard setback of
house,
the existing
Of the
structure?
existing house, yes.
And it was built prior?
I believe it was, yeah.
Yeah, the property is 100 feet wide and over 1,200 feet deep. So it's a large piece of land, but the narrowness of the property is creating the difficulties.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
You can
Second.
take these back. Ready and second. All in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's it.
Okay. Okay. That concludes our hearings for tonight. Thank you so much.